Take a look at lesson 8.2, solving systems by substitution. This is the second method out of the three in solving systems of equations. If you recall the first lesson, we solved systems by graphing. So we're doing the same kind of problems here, but just a different method. So I have some steps here, numbered 1 through 5, that I'm going to be referring to. I'm not going to read these out to you. Go ahead and take a look at them now. But I'm just going to jump right into the example. So we have y equals 1 plus 3x and 4x plus y equals 8. This is our system of two equations. Remember that we want to solve for x and for y. On step number 1, we're going to have one of the equations, or we want to get one of the equations to be y equals something or x equals something. If you take a look at step 1, so we want the y equals or the x equals, right? The y or x by itself. And luckily we have that. In our example, we have y equals. Y is equal to 1 plus 3x. So if you have these notes circled, that is equal to our x. So that means that since y is equal to 1 plus 3x, we can substitute that, the 1 plus 3x, I'm going to write that again. We can substitute 1 plus 3x for y in the other equation. Okay, so take a look at where I'm drawing my arrow. Since 1 plus 3x is equal to y, then I'm going to put that into the other y, since y is equal to it. So instead of, I'm going to rewrite this again. Instead of 4x plus y equals 8, I get to write 4x plus 1 plus 3x equals 8. Okay, so all I did was replace that y with what it's equal to. And that's the process of substitution. That's step number 2. Now, what does that do for us? Well, our new equation we got only has x. You see, since I replaced the y with this thing in blue, now I just get the x by itself. This is just solving an equation with x. So now I can, actually let me draw my fence here, since this is how we're doing this in class. I want to combine my 4x and my 3x. That gives us 7x. And we still have the plus 1, and that's equal to 8. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is let's get the 7x by itself. So I want to subtract 1 on both sides. I get 7x equals 7. Then I divide by 7, and x equals 1. Okay, so we have 1/2 of the problem done. The substitution part really is the most challenging part because you just have to know what to replace and what to replace it with. So now that we have x is equal to 1, let's find out what our y is. So in order to find out what y is, we go back to the beginning. Take a look at this up here, these two equations, either y equals 1 plus 3x or 4x plus y equals 8. Now I could use either one. I'm going to use the first one. It's just the easier one. So y equals 1 plus 3x. Now instead of x, we get to substitute. Again, x is equal to 1, therefore I can change x to 1. So this becomes y equals 1 plus 3 times 1. Then y is equal to 1 plus 3, because 3 times 1 is 3. Therefore, y equals 4. If you use the other equation to get y, you get the same thing. Okay, but you're going to see me use that other equation here in just a moment. So that's the 4x plus y equals 8. So we're pretty much done. Our answer is x equals 1 and y equals 4. Let me write it just to the left of this. Since x equals 1 and y equals 4, right, that is our answer right here. We write it like a point, or I guess right here, right? 1 comma 4. Do you remember from graphing, when we graph two lines, they intersect at a point, and that point is an x and a y. So definitely go and check out that video for lesson 8.1 if you want to review or learn how to solve systems by graphing. Now that we know what our x is and what our y is, we can check our answer, and that's using the other equation. Our other equation is 4x plus y equals 8. And since I know x and y, I'm going to change those. So it becomes 4 times 1 plus 4. Okay, so notice I changed x to 1 and y to 4. All right, so 4 times 1 is 4. Then just copy that. Does 4 plus 4 equal 8? Yes, it does. Therefore, my solution is correct. My solution is 1 comma 4, right? This one right here. On the next example, we have 2x minus 3y equals negative 24, and x equals 18 minus 6y. So remember, the first step is we want to look for an x equals something or a y equals something. I do have an x equals this, 18 minus 6y. Since x is equal to 18 minus 6y, we can substitute 18 minus 6y for x. Okay, see me draw my arrows. So that is the same as x, and therefore we can replace the x, right? This thing right here. So let me rewrite that equation. It's 2x minus 3y equals negative 24. And remember, I'm going to change the x. It becomes 2 times this thing, 18 minus 6y. And then I copy the rest. Minus 3y equals negative 24. Okay, here's my fence. So the 2 times x, or the 2x, becomes 2 times that thing in blue, right? The thing I substituted. So we do have to distribute. I'm going to do 2 times 18 here, and then 2 times the 6y. So this becomes 36 minus 12y minus 3y, copying the rest, equals negative 24. I'm going to combine the negative 12y, negative 3y becomes 36 minus 15y equals negative 24. Next, I am going to subtract 36 since it's positive. I end up with negative 15y equals negative 60. Then I want to divide by negative 15, and I'll end up with y equals 4. Okay, since now we know what y is, we can figure out what x is. I'm going to use that first equation, which is x equals 18 minus 6y. And we know what y is. Like I said, we're going to change y to 4. So we have x equals 18 minus 6 times 4. Okay, I substitute the y with what I wrote in blue. This becomes 18 minus 6 times 4 is 24. And 18 minus 24 is negative 6. Since y equals 4 and x equals negative 6, right, that leads us to this answer. Remember that the x comes first. It's always the x and then the y. Then I'm going to use the other equation, 2x minus 3y equals negative 24. right? And I know what x and y are. X is -6, y is 4. So we're going to change the x to -6, the y to 4. It looks like this. 2 times -6 minus 3 times 4 equals -24. And remember that the stuff that we do on the left side, here's my fence right here, the stuff from the left side should equal the -24 that's on the right side, especially if our answer is correct. What we want to look for is if it's not going to equal -24, we've made a mistake, and that's not our answer. So just cross our fingers that we get the -24. So 2 times -6 is -12. Minus 3 times 4 is 12. Well, in your calculator, if you do -12 minus 12, that is indeed -24, and that checks out. Well, what if we don't have an x equals something or a y equals something like we did in our first two examples, right? So we want an x equals or a y equals, we want to circle it, and then we can do our substitution. Well, we might end up with a system like this one here below. And we're going to learn a different method, our third method in 8.3 and 8.4. So, look out for that. But let's say you want to use substitution for something like this. Well, you're going to take that first equation, and this one is actually not that bad when you want to just get x by itself. Notice that the x has no number there. You could put a 1 there, but it's the same thing as just being x. So I want to get x equals something. I want x equals something, right? So that'll be the closest thing for me to do. If I add 2y, the only reason I would do that is because there's a minus 2y, and I can make that a 0. Well, if I do that, then this is gone, right? That's 0. So I do get just x, and on the other side, I get 5 plus 2y. So I end up with x equals 5 plus 2y, and I can now substitute that in for x over here on the left side. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that whole problem, but I will just show you the substitution, just what that looks like. So for 3x minus 5y equals 8, we're going to change the x. The x becomes 5 plus 2y, right? So instead of 3x, it's 3 times that, then minus 5y equals 8. And then you continue with the same process that we did on the previous two examples. Okay, that's it for this lesson. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.